Hi, my name is Jack Ovenier. I'm the co-chair of the Whatcom County Incarceration Prevention Reduction Task Force and part of the leadership of the Stakeholder Advisory Committee, which is making recommendations to Whatcom County regarding our criminal justice system. And I'm joined here with Corrections Lieutenant Caleb Erickson, who's been here since 2005, because we're going to look at the Whatcom County downtown jail today to see the current conditions of this facility. So I guess we're going to the jail.
Sounds good. Let's head inside. So this is the main entrance. Sally 1 is just on the other side of this door. And this is the direction we would travel in if we were coming in for booking. So once this rolls up, we're gonna head inside.
All right.
This is the pre-booking area. The pre-booking area is where offenders are presented for booking, and they come in and stand at this window, and then they move into this booth to our left.
This is really small, so everyone has to come in here?
That's correct.
So it's a total bottleneck right now?
That's correct, yep. So the pre-booking deputy sits on this side of the window, and the arrestee is in this small room. They answer a series of medical questions and personal information in that room here while the arresting officer prepares any reports that are necessary and provides the information to the booking deputy for
What if when they're not cooperative?
If they're not cooperative, it depends on whether they are willing to answer any questions at all, but oftentimes they would just go straight into the room here to get searched.
Okay. So, Lieutenant Erickson, so this jail has up to 200 people, and you were saying we really only have 2 cells here that could accommodate somebody really acting out in a way that has to be managed, is that right?
That's exactly right, Jack. So this cell here is one of 2 that we have that has some padding. It does not have a toilet. It has no sink.
Can we see it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
You can step in here and take a look.
Oh, wow. It doesn't smell very good.
It does not smell very good.
No, and that's the toilet, so to speak?
This grate in the floor is the toilet.
Yeah.
And the padding on the walls is meant to keep you from hurting yourself a little bit. It's not solid brick.
Right, it's hard, but okay,
It's not.
but there's only 2. So what happens if you get a third person acting out?
We have to prioritize who's the most at risk.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Yeah.
So we're in a regular cell in the Whatcom County Jail, right, Lieutenant Erickson?
That's correct. So
This bunk, this wasn't here originally, was it? This steel bunk?
That is correct as well. The bunks were added to a number of cells to increase the capacity.
So originally it was just a concrete bunk and a single woman or a person was in here, correct?
That's correct.
And what's this thing?
And this is what we call a boat. It is a temporary bed that you can add to any of our cells where you can allow for up to 3 people to sleep in.
So sometimes we're putting 3 people in, and obviously the toilet's right here, so if I'm using the toilet, there's somebody here, and how many hours a day am I in here?
It depends on the location, but sometimes you can spend up to 23 hours a day in a room just like this.
With 3 people, a toilet, no ventilation, well, minimal ventilation.
Yep.
Because it doesn't smell great in here, does it?
It does not.
Yeah. Wow, thanks.
Yep.
All right, so this is a dorm. It was originally work release.
That's correct.
And am I correct? The challenge is, in a post-COVID world, how do we keep people safe with this dormitory type of setting? Is that?
That's correct. And so what we have is a dormitory that has about 30 bunks, but you can tell that there's not enough space for all the functions that needs to take place here. And then one of the things that we like to highlight is we want to give people an opportunity to spend time in custody by themselves, potentially have a room that they can go back to, a space they can call their own, and a place where they can feel safe.
Yeah, there's no privacy, no ability to isolate here whatsoever.
Correct.
Not even really the toilets. I mean, it's all open.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, Lieutenant Erickson, as we're leaving, I'm looking at the ceiling. Is that mold?
Yeah, this whole area is covered with mold. We've got the shower here that obviously puts out a lot of steam, and then the air doesn't get pulled out as quickly, and so this essentially condenses up here on the ceiling and molds.
I mean, I'm in property management. You can't rent a place with that much mold. I know that.
No.
So we're on the third floor now, and these are some other housing or dorms, you call them?
Yeah. So all of the dorms on the third floor are relatively similar. There are lower bunks, so there's no top bunks,
Yep.
and there are no stairs that you have to access to get to either tier.
So people with medical concerns?
Yeah, if you have a mobility issue or you're having a seizure precaution potentially, we need to have you in a lower bunk. So these dormitories are really the only option for those housing needs. And there are a number of them throughout the third floor, but we saw one on the first floor as well that has a dorm, but these ones don't have any top bunks.
Wow, this has changed. So this was haircuts, well lit, there were some lockers, there were some activities, and what is this now?
Well, just like many of the places that we have in our facility today, this has been converted to housing. So this is actually the trustee tank. The inmate workers are housed here. So we've got one television and a number of bunks where the people who are working down in the kitchen and doing laundry are housed here.
So in the 80s, part of the idea, I think, was when you got out of your cell, which wasn't much, a few hours a week, there at least was some recreation, or you get a haircut, you go into the outside area, so that is not available anymore.
That's exactly right. Yep, so the original design had to go away for other functions.
For lack of space?
Exactly.
Okay. All right. So Lieutenant Erickson, we're going to go now, I guess, to the blocks, the cell blocks, A through F, and that's where a lot of the inmates are housed, and that's what people think of as a jail, right?
That's correct. And while we're prepping for that space, I want to be looking for a couple of key things.
Yeah.
Number one, when you're talking about corrections today, being a presence for the offenders is key. And so when you're standing in a location, you want to be able to see or be seen by as many people as possible. One of the challenges in this linear design is that you can't see any of the offenders depending on where you're standing, and they can't see you. So one of the potential benefits of being a corrections officer in a population is that you can affect other people's behavior.
So if they can see you, they tend to behave better because they know you're there, right?
Exactly.
Okay.
And they can
Kind of
say...
like the teachers in the classroom, you don't act up.
Exactly. And you can provide a positive role model for some folks, but only if you're visible. So in this particular design, it's a challenge to make sure that you can be seen by as many people as possible. The other thing that's key is in 2013, they remodeled some of the electronic features of the facility to replace all the locks, all the electronic components, all of the video equipment. But where they located the control box is not an ideal location in terms of being able to manage the inmate's behavior. For example, when you're standing in front of the control panels, you can't actually see into the cells where you're trying to operate. And it's a security issue for our staff when they're trying to interact with inmates or other staff members inside of a unit and they can't see them. And so it's a dangerous operation when you're not sure exactly what's going on and you're hoping that everything's okay as you're operating the controls.
No, one of the things you pointed out is staff safety in this particular design. There certainly are some pockets in this building where obviously staff safety is an issue.
Absolutely. So we'll find that line of sight concerns are a problem, and we'll find that not being able to see into a given unit is a major challenge in terms of being able to be safe.
So while inmate safety is important, and we all know that, so staff safety, we haven't talked about that too much, but that's a critical piece of the challenge we have, right?
That's right.
So Lieutenant Erickson, this is a shower room.
Yeah, so if you're in segregation hallway, which is up above us, this is your opportunity to shower. So you get a shower once every day if you'd like. And the challenge that brings with it is that you have to come down from the third floor, potentially in handcuffs or other restraints, down through the elevators, which we've already talked about.
Which assuming they're working.
Right, which are unreliable, and into this shower room to shower once a day.
Okay, so you don't have a shower accessible up there available to them?
There is, but it is often used for housing for folks.
Okay. So Lieutenant Erickson, this space we're in is the medical services and whatever is available for dental for the entire jail?
That's correct. So all major medical exams, all mental health exams, all psychological, dental.
Oh, so not just medical, the mental health,
psychiatric,
behavioral health issues as well?
Absolutely everything.
Okay.
There are 2 exam rooms over here, and we have some space over here, and actually every available flat surface is taken up as a station for our nursing staff. We will have generally between 5 and 12 nursing staff members working in this space right here, and we can see the whole thing. There are sometimes 3 mental health practitioners here, nurse practitioners of a variety of types, a physician, and a dentist. Again, all of those services are here, and this serves both the downtown facility here and the work center.
So what challenges is this space creating in your goal to meet the needs of the people that are incarcerated here?
As I mentioned before, space is a real premium here. This is the entire space, and so you can see everything that these folks have to work with. So privacy is a major challenge. We don't have an opportunity to get good mental health screening or behavioral health observation screening because...
And what percentage of inmates probably need some mental health screening? Is the behavioral health need here pretty high?
It is pretty high. It depends on the day, but we have a lot of seriously mentally ill individuals in our custody at a given point.
Sure.
And they need a variety of services. We also provide services, everything from a flu shot to advanced care for terminal illnesses. And again, all of that is done based out of this room here.
Wow, okay. So we're in the kitchen. It's obviously a lot of people. This is a small space. How many meals was this designed? Like what was this kitchen designed for?
So original design capacity is 148. So we should be seeing about 500 meals a day coming through here. But in reality, we're looking at between 1,200 and 1,500 meals a day because of the meals that were provided to juvenile and because we're providing meals to the work center.
So it's doing 3 times what it was designed to do.
That's correct.
That's why it's so crowded and congested and...
Yeah, and so if you look at the prep space,
Yeah.
we're really short on areas to make the food, and again, the design capacity was 148. So as you're looking at these areas, be thinking about a space that was designed for 148 beds.
Well, I can see they're prepping food where you normally would wash dishes.
Exactly.
Yeah, exactly.
And the other thing that's a challenge is it gets really hot towards the back because the ventilation is really only here towards the middle.
Yeah.
And so it's very, very hot in the back corners where they're using all of the ovens and the other prep tools. So it gets really, really hot and it's hard to manage the airflow.
So, Lieutenant Erickson, I know this is a dish tank, and so you're going to have humidity, but still, I was talking to an inmate, he gets mold literally coming down. I mean, look at this. This literally is coming down on him.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Again, another situation where we've got low ventilation or at least not very much evacuation of hot air, and it just condenses on the ceiling.
I mean, if this were a restaurant in Bellingham, the health department would shut it down for the mold, I think, coming down into this dish area. It's really not safe.
That's correct.
Okay, thanks.
Very good. Yeah.
So Jack, right next to the kitchen, we have this limited dry storage. We cook the cakes and other baked goods for the day, and this is where they store. We also have a back stock of breads and other dry goods. The major challenge is even though this is right next to the kitchen, is there not enough space for all the things that we need.
Yeah.
The other location that we store things is actually 3 floors away. So what we have here, Jack, is our dry storage area. We're now 3 floors up from where we were before. And a couple of key points about this area. This was intended to be the women's outdoor recreation space. You'll note that we have
It's fresh air. Yeah.
Yep, fresh air. I don't know that they've ever used it in that capacity, but obviously it reduces the usefulness of that space. It is now being used for dry storage for food supplies. And the main challenge with that is you've got to bring stuff that's off of a pallet, break it down onto a small cart, and then have it wheeled through a number of doors, up somewhat unreliable elevators, and then through more doors to get to where
you're
we're
2
at.
floors away, and you have narrow steel doors, and all these are all 50-pound bags. I mean, yeah, I see what you're saying. Okay, so we're in this. That's a small door that's in the laundry room. And you were saying we can't even replace these because they're built in place and the door is like steel and you can't get them in and they're not working?
Well, that's right. So the components of these, when they're all put together, are too big to fit through any of the doors.
Okay.
So in order to replace them, they have to dismantle them entirely. So these ones are out of date and or have been replaced multiple times over the years. So these are washing machines, they're industrial washing machines. And this section, which is next to the kitchen or part of the kitchen, is part of our overall laundry suite. This section is responsible for all the laundry in the facility. We have 4 dryers. At this exact moment in time, I believe 1 out of the 4 actually work for actually drying. The other 3 only air fluff, so they don't actually dry anything. We've been waiting for a couple of months for replacement parts.
Okay, so what I'm getting is you can't do laundry.
It's very difficult.
Right,
It certainly
and
is
so
a challenge.
people don't smell good and you can't clean things, and that's the reality.
Yeah, it certainly is a challenge.
Okay.
This is the laundry location for all uniforms, sheets, towels, blankets, and all of the personal laundry for anybody who's staying here.
Okay.
So, Jack, one of the things I wanted to mention is in a design of a modern facility, they put an enclosure around all of the washing and drying materials so that you can't get to the access points at the back of the machines. And that's important for safety. We really don't want any of the people staying here to have access to the equipment, the shut-off valves, all of the stuff that goes on behind the mechanics of these machines.
Understood. Yeah, I can see that's, yeah. Wow, Lieutenant Erickson, this really brings back some memories. I think, as you know, back in the 80s, I spent some time in this jail, and this was a school. Whatcom Community College had reading literacy. We'd help people read, and I guess my understanding is the criminal justice system had to take this space to make it a courtroom, so the jail no longer has it. Is that correct? I mean, it's a courtroom now.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
you've lost the whole ability to have a school, and this is all that's left for like a school or for 12-step meetings or religious things, a small room here?
That's correct. So as you can see, this is the courtroom, and we use this for all the courts in our area. And the room behind you, the multi-purpose room, is used for all religious services, 12-step programs. There is a GED program that functions out at the community college, but it's reduced to the size.
Well, yeah, but you can't do much in that space.
Exactly.
I mean, obviously, yeah.
So that is what we're left with. And again, this services the entire facility. So it was meant for 148 inmates, and on average we're 185
Yeah,
to
and you've
200.
lost 90% of the space that was intended for education or things of that type because it's become a courtroom.
That's correct.
Wow. Yeah. So this is the first time I'm getting sentimental about the past. I liked it better when this was a school and we could teach people to read in here.
Okay.
So, library,
Yeah.
so to speak?
Yeah, so to speak. So this used to be a water closet that has had 2 successive cuts into walls to make 2 storage areas into what is now our functional library system. The Whatcom County Library System actually comes in and deposits books for the inmates to use, and they do a lot of request-based orders for specific books. But it brings in a huge challenge of not having enough space for inventory, not being able to have a good system to bring books back from the tanks. And so it is definitely a big challenge.
So you want to give inmates books so they have something to do, to be distracted in a healthy way, but the challenge is getting them in and out, having the space to put them, and being able to actually facilitate. I saw on the note it said 2 books a week.
Yeah.
For some people, 2 books a week, if you're at a cell 22 hours a day, it doesn't seem like very many books.
It certainly is not.
So I know because of COVID, the visiting has been somewhat limited. This is where an inmate would be in a visiting booth. But my understanding is even without COVID, there's some challenges in using the visiting booths for visits.
That's correct. So we have to get creative in the ways that we give people access to the facility. So sometimes these booths are used for attorney access or behavioral health evaluations for folks who are maybe on the 3rd floor, which is where we're at today.
So Lieutenant Erickson, you were saying the elevators, we've heard a lot in the community, have proven to be unreliable, and these jail elevators are a little different than other elevators, and have they been unreliable?
That's exactly right. They have periodically stopped working, both of them at the same time or either or, so they've proven to be very unreliable.
And this is the primary way you get people from the first floor up to the other parts, like the main part of the jail where a lot of people are housed, correct?
Yeah, that's right. There are no stairs that we've got easily accessible here, so it's not a simple matter of going to the left or to the right of these elevators and just going up to the next floor. And these are the primary way where all of our staff travels to each of the floors, including how we get medical personnel or emergency personnel to each of the floors. So we can technically get to stairwells, but it is very challenging to do so, and if the elevators stop working, it's hard to respond to an emergency.
Okay. So this is the only space where anybody can get any fresh air or see outside, is that correct?
Yep, the rest of the facility is all recirculated air, so this is the only access that people have to fresh air.
How often can an inmate come here now?
I mean, it depends. The high volume of people with mental illness means that we really don't have a lot of people out here in groups. So generally, if you're in segregation or if you're in a cell by yourself, you might get access to this room once every day. But in larger groups, it doesn't happen very often at all.
Are there any problems in here?
Yeah, I mean, there used to be a basketball hoop.
Yeah, it was right here, yeah.
And that was taken out before I even started.
What's going on with the cracks?
There are a couple of cracks. I understand those came in when the Nisqually quake hit the area. Okay. And so we're monitoring all of the cracks. There's a stick of glue here that had a measuring stick, and that measuring stick has since come off. But there are a number of cracks that we're monitoring throughout the facility.
I mean, there's cracks all through it, obviously.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's very full in here.
Yeah. So this is the storage room, or property room as we call it. This has a lot of different functions. We store a backstock of supplies for new inmates who are coming in. We've got a backstock of supplies for other paper and other products like that. We've got a lost and found here. Our storage for property for inmates who have gone to DOC is right here. And then all of the numbered bins here are for storage of inmate property. We've got our machine that we use to decontaminate for COVID cells, and brooms, shower chairs, wheelchairs behind us here. And it gets a lot of use.
Well, so one of the things as you're leading me around the building, whether it was the third story excess storage or here, it seems like you're constantly having to move around to figure out where to put things. Is that accurate, or have I misinterpreted
That's exactly right. We're trying to innovate as much as possible, come up with new ideas and new ways, but it is very much a challenge trying to find ways to store things or keep things.
The things you need, and you're in a working jail, so I assume that makes a challenge. You can't shut the jail down for a few weeks and rearrange.
No, that's correct. It definitely does make that a challenge.
Okay.
So Jack, this is our this is our break room.
Well, it is your locker room kind of now, isn't it?
It is kind of our locker room.
Yeah.
So we've got an overflow here for lockers for our emergency response team equipment. We've run out of space in our regular locker rooms for that capacity. We find ourselves using every available space for things, including storage of our security bed and some of the other pieces of equipment that we just don't have room for. So we use this for meeting space, we use this for lunch space, and again, it becomes a storage location for things that we don't have room for.
So is this the only space in the jail really where staff working here can kind of escape a little bit and get away?
That is exactly right. When you're here, on shift, you don't get to leave the building. So this is as far away from the commotion and the noise that you can get.
So when you have to make this a locker room and bring in things, how does it affect morale?
Yeah, and when we have people moving from the locker room through the space, it causes commotion. It really reduces the ability to relax that you should be getting in a space
that people
like
need when they're working in an environment like this.
That's exactly right.
Well, Lieutenant Erickson, thank you so much for the tour today. On behalf of the Stakeholder Advisory Committee, I just really want to thank you for your time in showing us the current conditions of the downtown Whatcom County Jail facility. Thank you.
Absolutely, yeah.
One last question. If members of the Advisory Committee have questions, may they address those to you?
You bet.
All right, well, great. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.